Okay, it's called Travels of Terror, Strange and Spooky Spots Across America. The Bram Stoker award-nominated horror duo of Kelly Florence and Meg Hafdahl is ready to take everyone on a journey across America's creepiest dark tourism locations. It's being released by Source Books. They release only the best books, and it's on sale in September.
We're not going to mention brand because it's not sponsored.
That is a request to future people who make beverages that go in cans that we're open to being sold. Hello, welcome to Movie Baiters. I'm Kyle.
I'm Nick.
I'm Kirk.
This is a debate podcast. This is not a movie review podcast, but we are doing Beetlejuice again. Beetlejuice. He should have come here now because it's been said by me like 8 times, right?
Well, I would have called this a minisode.
This is a minisode because Nick Farx finally saw it. And on the last episode, we didn't say what his thoughts were and didn't spoil it because he hadn't seen it. But we got to, at the top of the episode, announce the live event October 11th at the West Theater at 9 o'clock is when the screening is. Doors are at 8:30. Laugh Until You Scream.
And the West Theater is where?
Well, that's in Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay, good.
When I was growing up with my adopted family in the rural part of Michigan, it was so rural that I had to put Duluth, Minnesota as where I was from on LinkedIn. Can you believe that? So, Nick Farx, last time on the last episode, you had not seen Beetlejuice. Now you have. I'm going to shut the hell up and listen to you talk for a little while.
Well, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the creativity that was on display. I enjoyed the sense that Tim Burton was having fun trying to get back to old Tim Burton. And kind of succeeding most of the time. So that was fun, and that kept it fun pretty much throughout. But man, the script really needed some work. I thought it was definitely what everyone's saying, like overstuffed. It was definitely overstuffed. There's a lot of shit you didn't need in there. You didn't need all the family drama. Like they kind of forgot like that the first one was a comedy. Like this one does not need to be like a teen drama romance. I don't need, It's weird. Like we had another like subplot. This one was not.
I know where you're gonna go with this.
I know
Are you gonna go FE on this one?
Yes, I am.
GVFE.
This was but this was different. I mean, this was not what's the word?
Young Kirkland Yang Farx does not know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you got to explain what.
Oh, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Like the main character Phoebe befriended a female ghost, and they played chess, and then she eventually, to be closer to her, because she feels so alone in the real world, like dies for like a couple minutes, becomes a ghost for a couple minutes, and then when I learned that this dude was a ghost in this, I'm like, oh, this is a more blatant. I mean, like it's obviously another main character befriending a ghost subplot in a legacy sequel, no less, in the same fucking year. This one was not. This one was overt, like it was a romantic thing.
Yeah, they shared a kiss.
Whereas, they did. Yeah, whereas there were people who read into the friendship in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I think, only just to be mad about it when it was just a blank slate. Phoebe might have been hot for the hot ghost girl playing chess, but they never showed her, like
Please, but for the linear listeners, this in a podcast we did where we baited.
There's like the second one we did.
Yeah, Frozen Empire versus Answer the Call. I was, hey, what about and I hadn't read anything at that point. I don't think it seems like there could be a romantic subtext there, which can, and I don't want to relitigate that. I think where we ended it was, if someone wants to read that, sure, but we don't. There's no indication.
Yeah,
in
there's
the
a blank
text.
slate. There's a blank slate.
There's no indication,
which means
from the
you
authors in the
you
text.
could, and there's nothing else in anywhere else in the film where it's like, oh, she only likes boys. So that would close off the possibility. So yeah, you're free to assume, and that's fine.
We don't want to yuck your yum.
But this, this was definitely a romantic thing. It doesn't matter either way. It's a friendship of a sort between a main character and a ghost. I'm like, fine, whatever. Yeah, especially when it turned out like the whole thing that he was a ghost and his like. I knew when they didn't show his parents' faces that they were going to pull something later, and I like how they paid that off, so I give them points for that. But it was a very quick turn between like learning he's a ghost. That subplot had the stages where like, why do we need a romance between Lydia's daughter and a boy? Why do we need that? And then it was, oh, he's a ghost. And this is how she's going to get into, because you could tell you kind of knew from the trailer she was going to get into the afterlife somehow. Okay, so this is how she gets into the afterlife. And then very quickly after that, you find out, oh, he didn't fall out of his treehouse. He murdered his parents and then whatever. So a very quick turn of events in the beats of that subplot that I think didn't really need to be there. I mean, it's a lot of shit to sift through, like what needed to be there. Like you could say this thing didn't need to be there. It had to be there because this is how they got to this thing. That's how they got Jenna Ortega into the afterlife. But you could have probably figured out a better way to get her into the afterlife.
How do they do it in one? Isn't she just walk through one of those magical doors?
They do the chalk on the wall in the first one, but like it didn't take half of the movie to get to that point either.
Oh yeah, so
you know what I mean?
The other ways in which this is like Frozen Empire is the ways in which it's
too much shit going on.
Too many plots at once that I didn't like.
A lot of world building. It's like you're almost just more playing in the whole universe of Beetlejuice rather than like, focusing on the story. And like he didn't become like a major player in the story as far as the protagonists go until almost the third act. Well beyond the midpoint, well into the second act.
You're talking about boyfriend dude? No,
I'm talking about Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, but that's how Beetlejuice is in. Well, doesn't he show up halfway in? And he's only in 18. He's like
17 minutes.
Yeah, and someone has said it's 17 minutes in both, but it's like, what is he doing in the first? Like in this one, it's a lot of it's the first half of his screen time. I think is.
He's just hiding out.
He's hiding out from his ex-wife. You didn't need the ex-wife subplot. You really didn't need it.
Yeah, because that really didn't go anywhere. They didn't use Monica Bellucci at all in this movie.
All it led to was then, I don't even think you needed. Yeah, you didn't need it to have Willem Dafoe, and Willem Dafoe, like even then Willem Dafoe and the supernatural cops show up at the end. They don't really do anything. You didn't need the ex-wife to get Willem Dafoe and to get them involved. Willem Dafoe's looking for Beetlejuice because he brought a living person into the afterlife. I forget if they have their own name for it, but like fucker, the one guy, the love interest, the treehouse boy, he had already done that. Why aren't they after him? For bringing a living person in, but they're only mad when Beetlejuice brings a living person in. Like, come on.
He was doing a soul trade, and they must do soul trades in addition to other things.
Maybe, but we don't know that. We don't know that. That could be the truth, but we can't. The more conjecture we have to use to make things make sense.
Did you want
in
more
any movie.
bureaucracy explained to you in the afterlife?
Well, technically, doesn't he have her read something? That's why she's kind of able to go through without much alert to the police or something.
The thing he has
maybe
her
that's
read,
it. Maybe
no,
that's
the thing
it.
he has her read is what binds her to him and sets up the soul trade from when they get to the final stamping that Beetlejuice doesn't give him in the Beetlejuice Ex Machina.
Yeah, so in a way they already know he's coming in with a live person. That's why they're not.
Yeah,
on
he
his
went
case.
through customs and that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. They snuck in the back way, quote unquote, with the bomb. They never addressed what happened with the Bobs who escaped into the real world.
Yes.
running around.
We
They
talked
never-
about that in the spoiler.
I
thing,
thought that would be
remember?
like a mid or end credit scene or something, but with the fucking Bobs
Is there any
running around.
mid or end?
There was not. We stayed till the absolute very end, and there's nothing.
I didn't want to say on the last one that we didn't, but I was so mad I wanted to get out of there and get to
Yeah,
recording.
I wasn't mad at it. I was just I got really pumped at the beginning. You know, the score kicked in, and I'm like, oh, this is very familiar.
So the other, I want to just quick tie up the Frozen Empire thing. Is that when you talk about Beetlejuice coming in late, that's kind of like how the bad guy in Frozen, or the bad guy.
Yeah, it's all build up. Well, here's this fucking ball sitting around forever, and then here's this other stuff we got going on. We got a ghost lab that we study. Here's a possessed Walkman. Here's the possessor ghost that bounces around the room. And then finally, like in the last half hour, the ball actually opens up. And it's like they tried to make it a build, but like they tried to pay off the friendship with the girl ghost because she was working for whatever the fuck is it, Garaka. And that drives.
You're talking about Frozen Empire.
Frozen Empire.
Yes.
Drives Phoebe to do something.
No, but I know what happens in the story.
To do something with the ball, the sphere that makes it open up. So like they tried to make it so that the stuff that happened before.
So much of that had washed from my mind since then. That's not like.
I still overall like I would like I like these movies in about the same way. I have problems with them, but I can like them.
It's no Night Swim.
No, it's definitely not nice.
So
that movie I despise.
Here's something that I was arguing with Kirk before you got here, because sometimes Kirk gets to Mank Ave Studios before.
He probably usually gets here before me.
I was talking about how I like Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar better than Barbie, and I would use Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar and even Barbie as examples of modern movies that are not these weird Lego sequels where there's a lot going on, but it all like feeds into the story, so I'm into it. Like I like both of those movies better than Frozen Empire
or Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah, or Beetlejuice. Yeah, like either of those movies, I've shown those movies to my kids. Yeah. I'm glad I did. I've shown the older one, Ghostbusters. She's into it. They actually
the first one.
The ghost blowjob and everything.
No, I showed her Answer the Call with the Blu-ray that has like the 3D elements. Not in 3D, but it comes off into the black bars.
It expands beyond the
black bars.
The
Or you can do 239 by 1.
Yeah, it expands beyond the scope aspect ratio, because when you think about it, you're generating CGI proton pack streams. Like they're only capped by your frame, your 2.39 to 1 frame. So of course they had the rest of those streams that they could then graft back onto the fucking So their footage. Well, exactly.
Did you see that movie in 3D in 2016?
Not 3D. No, I did not see it in 3D.
I saw it in 3D and I walked out going, "That's great. This is going to be like an Avengers movie." And I thought everyone was going to like it.
I don't.
Cast of women. I don't think anybody would
dislike
like
the movie on its own merits.
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't. I don't think this is going to be a popular thing to say, but as we already know, I like that better than Frozen Empire.
Yeah.
I almost want to watch it. No, I don't want. It's not good enough that I want to watch it again to compare it to Beetlejuice. But I was willing to try and watch Beetlejuice with you, the roommate girlfriend, and, as I call them, our parents.
Yeah.
Only if I could bring the 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Because you saw it at 4, and I was making the argument. She's seen the first one twice.
Yeah. This is pretty like more gory than the you have.
I knew you would be a.
I had heard they did something with Jeffrey Jones. Like how are they? I knew that they were representing his character somehow. Funny. I'm like, it is funny.
Did you like the claymation, or did you think that was lame?
Well, I'm like, how else are you gonna do it?
They brought him back in Deadwood. He's in the Deadwood 2019 movie.
I was reading what's he done since he photographed the 14-year-old and Deadwood.
Oh, he photographed? See,
he hired the 14-year-old so at least he paid him.
Oh, I thought he got an image of. So he set up a whole
Yeah, he went. He put a Craigslist ad out or whatever he did.
Damn, all right.
He must be under the age of 15.
That
I'm surprised that they
it doesn't affect me watching him in
used
Beetlejuice
his image,
Bueller.
because I feel like they probably still had to pay him.
Oh yeah, probably.
So but then on the other hand, so they paid him, but then like having his character be played by someone else from the shoulders down.
Yeah, and the voice was somebody else.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't checked.
It's kind of like
I thought you did.
Kind of like a big. Well, no, I just knew they were never gonna cast him to either even just do a voice. I didn't know what they were going to. I didn't know what they were going to. I had heard about the claymation, but I didn't know that he was going to be walking around throughout the whole movie, like, without his head.
That was funny. I did like that.
That was funny. Yeah,
and I was. There are a lot of elements that I like. For me, it's that it doesn't all come together well.
That's what it is. Like there are things that are
we're agreeing, damn
good,
it.
But it's just how they're assembled. Like I liked the. I like the Bobs escaping into the. Are they? Do we call them?
Oh,
they're all Bobs,
okay.
or they're all.
Can we talk about? No, they had different names. I thought.
Yeah, and at the end, there's like this is Chuck and this is Dave.
Yeah. So when Bob died, or the succubus, when Mary Magdalene succubus, that's what I thought of her as the whole time. I think of the Matrix sequent to Passion of the Christ with Monica Bellucci, and. When she died, didn't you think the movie was playing it for a laugh? But I actually, I
when
didn't.
He died, when Bob died,
when Bob got his soul sucked out and died, I thought
I didn't feel that it was played for laugh.
Yeah,
no.
I didn't think it was.
No one laughed in the theater when I.
Oh no! But I
didn't feel that it was played for laugh.
There's something about that moment where it's like I thought it was really cool in the story, but I just didn't like how it was handled. There's something about that specifically that like sticks out for me as like, they don't care about Bob the way that. What about Bob? The movie with Bill Murray.
Well,
just got to get that off my chest.
A little bit of humor, like the little way his eyeballs pop at the very end after he collapses into like a.
It made me
but that's Tim Burton humor. You know what I mean? Like it's dark humor. It's not.
Did you like Sleepy Hollow? Did we talk about this? Did we all talk about this? Sorry.
I haven't watched it in a long time. I think I liked it when I watched it.
Let's just wrap this up so fast and do a bonus of Sleepy Hollow.
No, I don't have time for that. But
I love suggesting other things we could
be
doing.
A big part of it is like they've got parts that work well. They're just not assembled right, and you could have discarded. You did not need the ex-wife, but I liked her putting herself back together part on its own. Like
greatest opening to a character I think this year almost.
And it was like
there.
And this is classic Tim Burton.
It was the right amount of practical and CGI.
Yeah, like I get you're gonna do the legs and the hips are CGI. Fine, whatever.
And the same thing happens in Toy Story 3 because Mrs. Potato Head loses her eye, and that's like a story. You remember Toy Story?
I never saw Toy Story 3.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
No.
Quentin Tarantino said it's the perfect trilogy.
Well,
God damn it.
Yeah. No, like
basically I was just making the point my children have seen displaced body parts, and it's not a big deal because it was a potato. And like, what's the difference between Mrs. Potato Head and Lady from Passion of the Christ putting herself back together?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. So I like that sequence.
No
and
you want to watch Passion of the Christ sometime?
In the end, you really did not need that subplot because all it is just it also leads to Beetlejuice being introduced in this movie as kind of like the protagonist of his own storyline, which is not how it is in the first. You are introduced to him through the perspective of who start out as the protagonist anyway, which is the Maitlands, until it kind of later on shifts to Lydia, which is one of my problems I've talked about with the first one.
It's like who's the
protagonist? At least this one didn't so much have that problem. It's very clear that Lydia is the protagonist. You're never confused. Like it veers into like, okay,
you thought Lydia was the protagonist? I thought Jenna Ortega was the protagonist.
No, well, it has a little bit of that problem, but no, it felt very clear that Lydia, because it starts with her.
She's number one on the call sheet for sure.
Well, I'm not even going by credit list or anything like that. I'm saying like, it starts with her.
Actually, Michael Keaton is, but he's the anti-hero.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it starts with her hosting her show. She's the one with like the kind of the relationship with her relationships with these people are the ones where, she's got a messed up relationship with her daughter. It's her dad who just died. She's got the weird relationship with Justin Theroux. It's very much like her. You can tell this is her story, which is also kind of why it feels unnecessary when we do finally branch off with Jenna Ortega. And like, you know, we have this whole bike riding thing. Like, it's like the 1.5 day they filmed after the strike, where we're just going to film Jenna Ortega riding around on a bike for a day and a half. And it's like, oh, we got to show the hardware store. That's a coffee shop now. We got to show this.
Oh, that was what they did after the strike, so that they could say that they got affected by the SAG strike?
I don't know what the motive. No, I mean, I just remember those stills of them shooting didn't come out. That was after the strike when they went back and filmed. I'm pretty sure.
Because they had a day and a half left of filming.
And I think it was the day and a half was her riding around Vermont.
Bike stunts that they shot saved for the end because maybe.
Well,
what if she doesn't know how to ride a bike? She had to learn for the movie.
The stunt part, I'm sure, was filmed separately, but just going to the East Corinth, Vermont, and shooting all these familiar locations. That's their day and a half.
I mean, I thought that scene went a little long with her.
Yeah, like you don't need to linger on. Oh, here's the bridge that the Maitlands crashed on. The Maitlands aren't in the story. Who cares about the fucking bridge other than fan service?
I mean, I thought they already did a little bit of that when they were flying over the model town. Anyways, you see the car.
You saw it already. Like you don't need to see it. You don't need to see Jenna Ortega ride her fucking bike over the bridge.
Wait a second. So is it the town that's fucking cursed? Because like the fucking kids stayed in the town as a ghost. Maybe there's ghosts all over. So
no, he said he couldn't go beyond the tree, but that's like the Maitlands. Like. We don't know. We haven't seen a Beetlejuice movie take place outside of Winter River, I guess. So we don't know if it's just Winter. I don't think it's just Winter River.
Do you think they make Beetlejuice, or Beetlejuice 3 after this? Because it's going to do well enough that it's going to cover the spread on the first weekend. So
it's pegged to make like $95 million this weekend. So
it's because they've been saying 90 to 100, and there's been some estimates that are 110.
It's making. There's no reason this movie should have cost
$100 million.
Yeah, it should.
I'm glad he made it cost $100 million.
It should be making profit. I bet this was 50. I bet this was 50 million.
Oh, actually, like they use studio math because the release numbers that the movie cost $100 million. They're saying in some of the box office.
I don't see why this movie would cost $100 million. It seems like CGI? a $50 million.
Puppets? No, it's not the CGI. It's the puppets because you can't like.
Yeah, but the puppets. Puppets exist, yeah, but they did puppets back in 1988, though, too.
So the first movie cost $15 million, and I was looking at like what is a dollar from 1987.
Yeah, that's probably equivalent to like 36 million today.
It's a 1987 dollar now would be worth $2.87 or 86 cents. So it's like multiplied by 3. So the $15 million budget would be between $40,000 and $45,000. You're close, and you might be even more close. And like nobody knows if the numbers they release are true.
It looks to me like what a $50 million movie looks like to me.
And then you have to ask how much did they spend on marketing.
Because the movie is one thing, and there's also marketing, but like the movie itself looks like roughly $50 million movie.
So I was showing Kirk the beginning of King Arthur, the Legend of the Sword, the Guy Ritchie one, and from 2017, and on the reported budget is like between 150 175, and then. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I'm just saying that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, but like they would rather make one $200 million movie than make 10, $20 million movies because there is an easier conversation with the board and investors.
I would look at it the opposite way.
I know you would, but that's because you didn't go to an elite private school and then come from these families that have stayed rich.
Yeah, but look at all these studios losing their ass on expensive movies.
Well, they're managing these things to decline. Like we know the business has cut down by 40%.
Yeah, so now would be the time to start making $10, $20 million movies instead of one $200 million one.
Because part of the reason that product is down, or product has been down, so overall business is down because there was a work stoppage twice within 4 years, and arguably necessary in both cases.
Sure.
Wouldn't that make you want to make more high quality movies then?
Well, the point is just that the theaters have been starved for product. Like that's kind of our whole business model from our like little upstart thing, that we're pirate radioing right now is that, oh, well, these fucking theaters are getting fucked because they don't have movies coming in as regularly. Like it used to be, you were getting a couple $20 million movies a weekend, and like if they make 7 $20 million movies, one of them's great, 2 of them good, and like that pays for the other 3 or 4.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like
Yeah.
that used to be the math, but now it's like they live and die on. Because so in addition to the 150, 175 they spent to make the movie, they spent another 150, 175 to market it that year.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I wonder if they like know that they're losing money and they just spend more so that they can do something to their EBITDA. Honestly, at the end of the day, on the balance sheet. Because supposedly they lost, 9 figures on the release of that movie that year. But there's no reason to believe that when you were making these decisions in 2022 to make Beetlejuice, production in 2023, although spread out over 2023, right? And they'd been working on the script since 2012. So for 10 years, they'd been working on a sequel, the reboot sequel to...
Well, I wouldn't say they've been working on this. They were not. I don't think they were crafting this story since 2012. I mean, like there was the original Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian in 1990. That they kept coming back to it, and then that got abandoned. And then they had other things that they kept coming back to. This seems to have come out of Wednesday.
Yeah, like because those guys work on Wednesday. The writers.
Yeah.
But my point is just that they spent $100 million to make the movie. Maybe I agree with you that it looks more like a $50 million movie, or what we used to think of what that was.
Well, if we're talking about in the interim development, which I debatable if you count that as the cost of this film.
Again, studio math.
Well, maybe, but like the movie itself, though.
But this is why you do like what Blumhouse and A24 do, and you just play around at the 7-figure range, and you play footsie with the 8-figure range instead of constantly being in this 9-figure, live or die range.
No, make them cheaper if you can, and
Well, no, what I think we really are saying is make a lot more of them instead of just these huge
Well, that's gonna
battleships.
mean though making them cheaper because you're not gonna.
Because then you would be employing more hair and makeup people across 20 different movies. Like there's just a bunch of economics that go around these things.
Yeah, and you're spending the same amount of money, but if they're separate movies, you can make them at the same time, and then you're going to employ more people at the same, rather than. You know what I mean?
And again, I go back to, I could see how they spent a lot of money on this movie because, look at costumes. Costumes on this movie were probably of a high cost, and they are a high demand because they know they're going to be able to sell merchandise for the next... They're juicing the merchandise. They were already selling off this stuff, and Beetlejuice was coming in second to Nightmare Before Christmas, and Disney's got Nightmare Before Christmas, and Warner Brothers has Beetlejuice, so they need to threaten Disney's. I'm just looking at how you're playing this game on, because the Cars 3 didn't make that much money, but in 4 to 8 quarters they sold $5 billion of Cars related merchandise and brand integration because kids love that stuff. Shit, who cares? You listening to this fucking podcast because you're
sure, but Cars, I mean, it already exists on its own. I mean, they're already toy cars anyway, so you don't have that much.
Yeah, but then they have the Disney branded cars. Like, our cigarettes don't give you cancer; they're toasted.
These cars have big fucking mouths on the front of them.
Yeah, and that's what the kids.
Eyes,
it's now how the kids are into Paw Patrol, and you can't go anywhere without seeing the Paw Patrol stuff.
That's true.
And that's why you get into making kids stuff.
Yeah.
So how do we make My Friend Molly for kids?
So we should make more kids stuff?
Well, the Hallmark series is entered in the kids category in one of these festivals. So hopefully we win that kids award. Do we?
Well, that's what I was saying. If we do a web series of Paprika,
and I want to.
I have been saying
single camera, right?
Well, do it focused on the kid.
Yeah.
And have it be kind of focused on his every episode is kind of a new invention.
Are you saying that that's what you've been saying? Because I've gotten
that's what I've been saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've gotten directly. I've gotten directly that feedback from, heavy hitters for here. Let's say.
Oh, good.
And I mean, that's the obvious thing to do with that.
And then you could spin off from those inventions.
Let's remember to bring this up on the next official episode. Let's do 2 to 3 minute pieces off of Paprika about the kids' inventions. We need to come up with a bunch of ideas, and then Elisa should. What's
to
ironic?
build the fucking things.
What?
We'll have to build the fucking things.
That's yeah, and that's why I said we'll have to go back to our production designer, who's had a lovely baby boy, and get her back in the mix. On
Do you think 2-3 minutes is long enough for an invention to be?
I mean, the point is that we've got to make more than one of these, and my argument would be make it about one invention that gets like, you know how the iPhone has a bunch of other things that get attached to it, or
you can do that.
Like
let's say you did 3. One is the invention, and then 2 and 3 are how the uses of the invention. Like he gets up to. Not mischief, but like he puts the invention to use for something.
So I would say why not take the thing that was originally in the people think about the invention because of the emotional connection to it, and you're not going to come up. Well, I guess there's a couple of ways to do that. You can come up with a bunch of emotional connections to a bunch of different inventions, or an emotional arc that you could connect to this invention, whether it be a new one or you use the smell machine from the first one, because I imagine a bunch of a smell machine's kind of like an iPhone. It would be something that you would both develop apps for and then also develop hardware attachments for. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Beetlejuice Redux. See, and that's Tim Burton is one of these first filmmakers you recognize as a kid where a director can have an impact on a movie where it's stylized. And now we think of Wes Anderson, and we were talking about Zack Snyder.
They're in the center of the frame.
To go back to Beetlejuice, do you feel like there's a Tim Burton movie? I didn't feel like it was much of a Tim Burton movie.
It felt like a polished. It felt like a Lisa Simpson version of what a Tim Burton movie should be. And
well,
I mean that as a
I'm
compliment
split
to both
because
sides
there were times where I felt like it was old Tim Burton was back, like the ex-wife stitching herself, stapling herself back together. I thought that felt like more classic Tim Burton.
Yeah.
However.
And I wouldn't be bothered seeing that as a child. I can't remember that kind of thing would bother me, and I don't think it would bother my child today.
However, there were still a number of times where I felt like, oh, this feels more like latter day Tim Burton. This feels like Miss Peregrine Tim Burton. This feels like
people jumped off at the Chocolate Factory, even though that made
it's hard to put my finger on, but the best way I can describe it is the same way I rip on Colin Trevorrow or C-Trev. I rip on C-Trev for aping Steven Spielberg. Like he just kind of emulates Steven Spielberg sometimes.
That's the criticism of J.J. Abrams too.
Sure, yeah. So there were
you agreed with that way too.
Modern
quick.
day
Super 8 is great.
Modern day. Well, I don't watch a lot of J.J. Abrams, but
Star Wars and Star.
But I watched Super 8, and I'm like, oh yeah,
it's just Star Wars. Right? He did do Star Trek. My bad.
So
how dare you?
The latter day Tim Burton stank is kind of like it feels like when C-Trev riffs on Spielberg.
I think it's because he screwed up his marriage. Just
and
to be clear.
Well, it could be. We don't know. It could be.
I'm saying.
But
Steven Spielberg supposedly made Indiana Jones 2, the prequel, darker because he was going through a divorce and started banging that blonde in the movie.
So art imitates life, or is it the other way around? I don't remember.
Life imitates, or yes.
Wait, you're saying Temple of Doom is a prequel?
Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What the fuck? I'm just learning this right now.
See, you're a nerd in a different way in movies than I am, because you've always been a horror guy, whereas I'm an Avengers. That's the zenith of what I'm going for. It's got action and it's got comedy. My mom likes it. My dad likes it. My sister gets sick of it after a while, but every movie for almost all of time was aimed at 15-year-old boys. So
yeah,
woohoo.
Yeah, but back to Nick's point about Tim Burton.
Yeah. So modern day Tim Burton stank. I feel like the best way I can describe it is when you see C-Trev riffing on Spielberg, it feels like someone else trying to emulate Tim Burton.
And now it feels like Tim Burton's trying to emulate Tim Burton.
Well, but the only difference is that the someone else trying to emulate Tim Burton is Tim Burton himself. There were moments that felt like that too, and you feel it in anything a lot of the stuff he's done in the last decade. Even in like when I watched the first episode, well, some of the first episode of Wednesday, which is why this movie exists. Right?
Do you need me to validate you on that? Yeah.
Well,
I think that the success of Wednesday.
This was the spark that kick-started the 30th attempt to make a Beetlejuice 2, and this one panned out.
I'm rooting for.
Well, what if we're working with Jenna Ortega now? What if we make her? What if we have her show up and be Lydia's daughter and have her go like?
Yes.
She's the whole time.
It's like they're not duck lips.
It's not. No, it's duck mouth. Because like her cheeks are sucked in, and then she's got like the
Chinese spy that worked for the governor of New York ordered like a very specific type of fried duck. Fried duck mouth? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, I don't know. And like her lower jaw kind of jutting forward, like.
Oh, like some types of. Well, I was gonna say canines, but I also have a lower protruding jaw. Like my bottom teeth are a little bit further out than my front teeth, and I had braces that try and pull the bottom jaw back.
I've done the same thing many times. Braces. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
My sister had surgery where they cut out a section of her jaw.
Our sister.
To pull it back. Yeah. I'm still not. I'm sure I'm done with the fight on. Yeah, it gets uncomfortable.
What?
The teeth.
Oh. Because your like lower jaw protrudes like Jenna Ortega, queen of our time, Jenna Ortega. Who, well, I mean, I'm trying to think when do we like her better in Scream than we liked her in this? Sorry, do you want to talk more about
better in Scream?
Yeah, in the Scream movies than in this Beetlejuice.
Oh, that's a tough call. She's kind of the same person.
She's overexposed for me now. Like she needs to show a different.
No, it's too much of her being cast in roles where it's like, oh, it's gonna be clever if we give
shouldn't tell her. I'm sorry, I said she needs to show a different, but like, yeah,
it'll be clever, if we cast the 5'1" girl to be like tough and like smart ass. Like that's already gotten very old.
What could she do different? Like what's a franchise she could do, or what's a type of movie she could do that we haven't? I would like to see her like kick ass or something. Nah, that's
she already kind of. That's already
Scream.
They already do that, where it's like, oh, look at this tiny little 5'1" girl, but she's gonna talk back to you. She's gonna, like. She's gonna have snappy one-liners,
and then her kicking ass would be weird because how does she take down a 7-foot person?
Wow.
But there are ways.
She doesn't have to take down a 7-foot person though. She could take.
Sure.
I mean, you could take down other 5'1s or 5'4s people.
A bunch of other shorts.
I mean, you gotta make it work somehow.
She's in the middle, right? There's that part in The Rundown with The Rock where he fights all of the people in. I can't remember what part of South America. I haven't seen The Rundown all the way through in a long time. Have you guys seen the movie The Rundown with The Rock? It's 20 years old.
Yeah, but it's been a while, so I don't remember the whole thing.
He fights a bunch of, I want to say pygmies is the word, but I don't think that sounds right. They're like people who are naturally short.
Yeah, that sounds like a pygmy.
But wait, I don't. Either way, they kick his ass and it's hilarious because it's The Rock. But I guess do we want? Oh, so maybe like a science fiction movie with Jenna Ortega where she could
just give
multiplicity
her
herself.
Powers. Yeah, just give her some kind of power that she's able to fight off.
Or just people. Something where a big part of her character is not having snappy
quips.
That sort of thing. Because that's.
Oh, you want her to be more relatable? See, now we sound like shitty marketing executives.
They love to do that.
Episode.
No. They just love to give her if we make the little 5'1" girl
how do you know that exact height about her?
I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, she's 5'1". No, I would get that detail stuck in my head too.
That's the key to making an interesting character, and then
she solves a mystery. I mean, she already did that in Scream. A period piece might work because you see, then she'd have to do something different than because she's doing Gen Z in different places. It's the Scream franchise.
Yeah,
and historically people were shorter back then, so it worked out fine for her, right?
Oh man, Kirk, I love you.
Thanks.
I think she's good and solid in the movie, and
Yeah.
they said they had to wait till she was born to make this movie.
Sure.
Was a joke on set.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not excited to watch Wednesday season 2. And maybe with the kids would continue watching it because I started watching it with them.
Yeah.
But then the weird monster thing came.
Oh, I didn't watch that far. I mean, like, Netflix shows that I did, but I put it on and I fell
While
asleep.
you're sleeping. You didn't watch any of this, Kirk, did you?
No, not Wednesday.
We're not debating. Okay. What didn't we like? What do we disagree about when it comes to this movie? Catherine O'Hara, I loved her. I found her sexy. Yay? You're agreeing with okay.
It's fine.
Well,
yeah.
how did you feel about the characters? Was
characters.
Lydia like the same character from the first one?
Well, I mean, it's so many years later that you can't expect them to be the exact. No, she's not the same character, but you could assume that she wouldn't be.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I can't really say this, but I wouldn't expect her to be such a pushover and just agree to Justin Theroux being married and stuff.
Oh,
that's a well.
I didn't like that
it
kind
was
of
very
drama.
Midwestern to me in a certain way. Being from Minnesota, you know.
Well, that's the actress is from Minnesota. The character is not.
No, I said we're in Minnesota now, so we're very used to this passive aggressive agreement that people do, and so for me that's funny on some level.
Yeah.
I heard Justin Theroux interviewed for like 4 minutes on a podcast about the question was exactly what I would have asked is like, oh, so you're a writer, where did you get to play in the margins? Well, we started with what the core of the character was. He is a narcissist, but he's also like very trying to build these codependent relationships. I can't remember, there was another piece. I'm missing a layer. Anyways, sorry. Either of you?
Maybe the movie played a little too much on the cliches, like the fiance just turned out to be a asshole who didn't really love her that much and just wanted the money. And then what's with like dead ghosts being very old and going after young kids? Because Beetlejuice is like really old and he goes after a 15-year-old. And in this movie,
it's a metaphor.
Metaphor for what?
It's a metaphor for how we can be hurt by, like, we can be screwed over by our past or something. No, you don't think like the systemic failures of the past could somehow?
I don't. I think you give them too much credit. If you really even believe that that's what they were thinking, but I don't believe that either.
And
no, but you can look. The more my rule of thumb is the more conjecture we have to use to make sense of things in movies, the less they did their job. Like because not every movie is David Lynch. Like something
Yorgos Lanthimos.
There are plenty of there's plenty of gray area between David Lynch and having everything just be spelled out for you in spoon fed.
And J.J. Abrams, which you don't watch.
So
Star Trek
no, J.J. Abrams can blow me.
What would you do in return?
Huh?
What would you do in return?
I'd pat him on the head.
I would
caress his ear.
Recently, I was watching Industry, and I can't remember the first season. They depict gay sex more than once, and God bless. And I realized, like, as I was watching it, like I was waiting for the gay sex to finish so I could go about my day, because I was like watching it
because you were riveted.
I'm rewatching the show because it's a finance show.
Yeah.
And I'm really into season 3. A lot of critical acclaim is coming for it. And like they have shown penises since the start of that thing. It was directed by Hannah from Girls. Lena Dunham. I couldn't think of her name, but I thought of her character's name from Girls.
Oh, okay.
You didn't watch that, right?
I watched some. Like I saw the ass eating scene from Girls.
I want to know what I genuinely want to know what Lena Dunham thinks of Beetlejuice. She probably likes the outfits. I gotta believe that's
I don't know.
I'm a terrible person.
I don't have insight into Lena Dunham's head. Nor do I want to.
Well, what did you like about Beetlejuice?
Well, kind of just
to bring
You're
back on
such
topic.
a great host, Kirk. I love you.
Only thing, like what I said, like very close to the beginning, was that like I sensed that Tim Burton was having fun getting back to this world, and I was having fun, like hearing the score again, and they had an opening credits sequence that's very similar, so that reeled me in. But as it progressed, I'm like, well, we got this subplot that's not going anywhere with the ex-wife. It's taking way too long to get to when you finally realize where it was going, like, well, it took what, fucking over an hour to get there.
Let's actually try to play. Oh, sorry. Are you
So I'm just saying, like, so I like the overall feel of being back in the world. Story was a mess.
Okay, so in an effort to be more specific in what we're talking about, I think we should try to draw parallels between the different plots to try and go, like, what could they have been going for? What is the theme between the way Lydia relates to Justin Theroux, the way Catherine O'Hara relates to dead Jeffrey Jones, the way young Jenna Ortega's character, what was her name in the...
Astrid,
yes, that fits right in the lexicon of Beetlejuice.
She could have related more because she has a parent who has married someone new and is a stepmother. That should be like a common ground.
So you don't think she had... Well, there was already, it seemed, a separation between them, and they didn't explain. I liked that was part of the thing. Like, as someone who's going to have a teenage daughter, I anticipate in about 10 years,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I think it should have made her more understanding of what Astrid is going through. Like, look, I miss my dad, and he died, and this whole thing happened. I'm blaming you for the accident. But, you've been through this. Like, her father did get remarried, and it's like, shouldn't Lydia be more understanding of what you're putting your own daughter through?
Her dad also died.
I'm just saying that she has a stepmother, and she's, remarrying, and she's giving her daughter a stepfather, so she should be able to relate in that way, that manner.
It's a reflection, the way her father gave her a stepmother. She's giving her daughter a stepfather. Yeah. And it's a little more dramatic because her mother didn't die, right? Or her mother has died between Beetlejuice 1
No,
and Beetlejuice
her mother
2.
technically still alive, right?
In Beetlejuice 2?
Yeah, 'cause I think she's dead.
Yeah, I guess we don't know anything about her actual mother. We can just assume that Charles Dietz divorced her mother. I guess, but if she... Yeah, I don't know.
And that's... Okay, this is an 80s thing where, like, it's more common to start seeing in movies where there is, people coming from a previous marriage combining into a new marriage. Brady Bunch is the 70s. This is the 80s. I'm just saying, this in the 50s, they had to show people who were married sleeping in separate beds, even though they had kids, and, like, which bed did they get in to cause the kids? When Lucy and Ricky had the little boy.
I think about Dick Van Dyke.
You think about Dick Van Dyke a lot.
And I'm pretty sure Dick Van Dyke shot his wad from one bed all the way over into Laurie's bed.
Probably right after he got home for World War II.
So it happened in both beds because the wad was launched in one bed and it landed in another one.
We were talking about what is Lydia Dietz's mother like, and what is her relationship with her that's causing her to have like a negative relationship with Catherine O'Hara's character.
Yeah,
I love all three performances, and remember that Jane Fonda movie where she had Lindsay Lohan as her granddaughter, and Felicity
I
Huffman?
know about that movie.
I didn't
Georgia
see that.
Rule.
Yes.
Georgia Rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, they got us to watch Georgia Rule, but in Nightmare Before Christmas, near Halloween. That's lovely.
Sure. Oh.
Yeah, that's quite an achievement. I guess.
Jane Fonda talked about how Lindsay Lohan was acting a fool back then.
I'm sure she was. She was on crack, wasn't she?
I have not followed any sort of reporting on that individual that closely to comment. And if that is, I hope she deals with any addiction issues. She's in like a lovely Irish romantic comedy or something on Netflix in the past year or two, right?
Oh, okay.
It seemed like a Hallmark movie, but like one that they spent 7 figures on. Or no, all Hallmark movies are 7 figures. Seemed like a 10-figure Netflix,
Wow, that much?
No, I meant 8 figures. I meant over 10 million. Sorry. We're losing Nick. So,
thoughts, Nick. Get there. I don't want to drive home and take 4 tries to get into my correct townhouse row again.
Have you done that?
That's what happened last time. I pulled in I got into my townhouse neighborhood, and
in Plymouth, Minnesota.
I didn't fucking recognize anything. I'm like, it all looks the same. And it took me 4 tries of turning down the rows and being in somebody else's like driveway. I'm like, wait, this is fucking mine. You got to count to 5 if you're coming from one direction.
Say that.
They don't know the street. And it's 4 if you're coming from the other direction. That's what it is. That's what you got to tell pizza delivery guys.
It's also your like. Sorry, I was gonna say it's your love.
Oh yeah, five pumps from the back.
Wow.
Nuance.
Very
Remember.
specific, yeah.
Yeah. I'm frustrated because there's a lot I like about this movie. I can see a lot of good individual pieces. I didn't feel they came together in a cohesive way, and the amount of comparisons you're able to make to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I appreciate. I talked to somebody last week who I love and respect.
Yeah.
Jimmy Keeves, who's the head tour guide at St. Paul Brewing.
Yep.
And he told me genuinely that was the last movie he saw in theaters, he thought. And I don't think that's a wrong answer. It's just I wonder if Beetlejuice will bring a certain segment back to the theaters.
It clearly is if it's going to open to 95 million. Yeah. Now, I think that what this has over Ghostbusters Frozen Empire or Afterlife is that it has the legacy characters back in the same amount. Then, like, I wonder if this makes Columbia or Sony, whatever, think, maybe we should actually do a Ghostbusters movie where Bill Murray's in it for more than 2 scenes.
He doesn't want to do that.
He doesn't want to, but, like, you know.
Money, he'll probably take it.
No,
No,
I think
you don't
Bill's
think
got
so?
enough money to get by. He at one point was a minority owner in the St. Paul Saints, I believe.
Yeah, but he always could use more money, right?
Mo money, mo problems, Kirk. Mo money, mo problems. Nick, closing thoughts for the minisode?
I mean, I'd have a few less problems with more money, but I don't.
Just about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn. Well, I'm glad you saw it. I wish I would have been able to convince Mrs. Farx to let the young Farxling go to it, but yeah. Do you like Farxling, Kirk?
Yeah, I think that's great. Farxling. That's a new word.
That's a new word. Remember, offspring of Farx Brothers are called Farxlings.
Does that include
great.
sperm?
No, it has to go through meiosis and then mitosis. If you remember biology from high school.
Okay.
So, like, the sperm has to form new DNA. With that's
Yeah.
where I define life beginning.
It's a whole thing. All right.
So there are no Farxlings on my ceiling then.
I hope you enjoyed this minisode.
You can hit that high?
Back in the day, I could. Like back in the days when like Titanic was just released on home video, and I was like 14. Like the sketch scene, I could hit the ceiling.
Second tape.
The second tape, yeah. Like why?
That's how you know you're sick.
If that were
the second tape,
to unload that at a unload, quote unquote, at a yard sale today, and the tape. Like someone
you were at a yard sale today?
No. I'm saying if I were to unload that tape, that 2 tape set at a yard sale or whatever.
I basically was at a yard sale.
They'd be like, "Why is the first tape plays like butter? The second tape is worn to hell." And only the first part of the second tape. And actually, you know what?
Love to watch all the people die.
No, it is the first tape because the first tape ends with the captain looking not into the camera but very close to, like, this is when they're looking at the blueprints and how the water is going to spill over the bulkheads.
I bought the like sapphire Blu-ray of that,
and
for
then
like $4
and then he looks
once.
in, how long do we have or something like that, and it cuts to black on the tape. That's after the sketch scene.
Got it.
So why is the first tape?
I remember when in the movie it happens.
Why is the first tape all worn out? And
Thanks
the
for
second tape's
redoing your sketch with the right tape.
Yeah. So yeah, there's probably still Farxlings on the ceiling from 1998.
I brought the Farxlings to a pizza place that was doing stuff with a construction product from Denmark.
Yeah.
They gotta pay. If we're gonna say what that construction. You know what I'm talking about, right? Construction part.
What? No.
Legos.
Yeah, be more specific.
You're supposed to say Lego when you're overseas. Like the plural of Legos is Lego.
Oh God.
You didn't know that?
No,
I was at a
fucking
Lego pop-up event at a pizza place today with the Farxlings, and I Venmo'd a guy to buy some Bionicles. Do you remember Bionicles?
Wow.
No.
It's a deep cut.
They were like 20 years ago, and then they came back like 5 years ago as a product line from that Denmark construction company.
All right.
I'm just saying. They were really into these Bionicle. You were too old for that. Were you?
Yeah. I have
Were
no
you too
fucking
young for
idea
that?
what these are.
No, I remember Bionicle.
Did you have any Bionicle?
Yeah, I did.
Fuck
Fire
yeah.
one and a water one. Yeah, they were great.
What one?
The fire one and a water one.
Everyone had the
specific.
fucking fire one. I had the fire one and the
He's
green
coolest.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fire's the best element.
And Nick Farx had had all the Beetlejuice toys.
Still have.
Still, why didn't you bring them? We could have reviewed
Well,
them on
I
the
didn't
podcast.
think that far ahead.
Depending on how well the part 1 and part 2 play, maybe we'll have to do the Farx's finger, action figures.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have a little. It's like a little collector case with all the action figures, but a lot of the other shit, like the shit in the thing you sent me. Like I
sent him a link with all of the toys that came out in
that have
regards
all that.
to the Beetlejuice.
You know
movie.
what? I have
So did
one.
your parents get you all those for
Yeah.
Christmas because of how much you loved the movie when you were a youngling, a young
Yeah.
Farxling?
Mm-hmm. Same with
Wait,
Ghostbusters. I have a shit ton of Ghostbusters stuff too.
What were you like when you were like, I love this? So 1988, it was Beetlejuice. 1989, your Christmas was Ghostbusters. Am I close?
Well, because Ghostbusters 2 had come out that year,
I'm
so
aware
for sure.
of
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, this is 35 years ago.
Did you have a Ninja Turtles Christmas when you were in the 90s?
Oh, I have a box of Ninja Turtle shit too. Yeah, I still have the pizza thrower.
Oh God. Did you end the episode?
No, it's still
Okay. Oh, he was trying to. I'm gonna keep
Oh,
going.
we're still recording?
No, because we've been recording. So I got half off the. No, I hope you keep that in. I truly hope you keep that in. I got half off the Ninja Turtle action figures for the last movie.
Oh, for the last movie.
Yeah, because they were going at a dartboard big retailer.
Oh, the one that looks like a bullseye.
Yeah, the one that looks like a bullseye. I am a vulture there because sometimes I buy food there. So
I buy
I'll
food
go
there
and I'll
multiple
walk,
days a week.
Well, yeah, so I'll walk through the toy aisle to get more steps in.
Yeah.
And that's a justification, right?
Sure.
But I watched this thing oh man, they went from let's say $10 to $5. I think that math is right. I don't actually remember, but I just got a bunch of them. Yeah. And every week having the youngest Farxling go, "Hey, Daddy, will you play this with me?" Oh man.
Yeah.
Yes. What could be? And think of your box of whatever the hell, and you don't even play with it at all. Just
my
there.
toys. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
They're waiting for
Farxling.
Nick Jr.
Nick is for kids.
So minus the grooming.
When's the last time you pulled these things out?
Uncle Dan will come over and look at your feet.
You.
Dan Schneider.
Yeah. You watched that documentary.
The first 2 episodes, but then I realized this is one of those things. Netflix does this a lot. I know this is not Netflix, but where
Beetlejuice, Kirk.
you fucking they do a series on something. And it's I could have spent 10 minutes and learned the same amount of shit on Wikipedia in 10 minutes, and they draw every episode out very much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's I knew all this about Dan Schneider.
That's the best one.
I knew Brian Pack.
What do you mean you knew from reading the news?
Yeah.
You mean?
No, I mean years ago I knew about Brian Pack and what he had done. So it's
Please keep saying Brian Pack. I did watch all of those. That series you're talking about. I didn't know those things. I'm glad I didn't know those things. I'm upset now that I know those things.
Yeah.
But that would give you a very dark view of the world. Kirk, final thoughts on Beetlejuice.
I mean, you listen to my the initial episode of Beetlejuice. Oh, the juice is loose. With my thoughts, but we're gonna.
Are you cool with that being the title, Nick?
Oh, of this episode?
These episodes. This is part 2.
The juice is loose.
The juice is loose.
I don't care.
We still have to put Beetlejuice in the title so that it gets the SEO.
Well, yeah, I don't care.
I'm
Should
sorry.
have a more clever title.
I'm on your side I like The Juice is Loose because it's a reference to O.J. Simpson.
No, that was just a.
Well, he's in hell now though, so he's not loose.
Yeah.
He's loose in hell. You don't know he went to hell. Maybe he gave his life to Christ, or another religion. I don't know. And
that's,
maybe they're
that's
right.
my problem with if you can like decapitate your wife.
I think his son did it.
And no,
I've heard it mentioned
so.
in popular culture, but I have coworkers who bring up to me still that it's like, you're the one that first introduced that theory to me, that maybe O.J. Simpson's son is really the perpetrator of the murders. And the podcast on that, Kirkland Farx.
To listen to my thoughts on Beetlejuice, please refer to the first part of this 2-part.
For the linear listeners.
Yeah, for the linear
There's a
listeners.
debate. It's a debate. We debated something in here, didn't we?
A little bit.
I think so.
All right. Bye-bye.
Next episode's an interview.